Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Pichael with League of Items, and today is a good day, for multiple reasons. Let me get the. We're gonna start off. We're gonna start it all off. Just to get the mood right. Actually, no. This doesn't do it justice. This doesn't do it justice. And this isn't all about me either. We're getting the long version today.
Pichael money. We making Pichael money. Payday, about to throw a rack on China. Need some DFS advice, where can I find some? League of Items got the sheet with all the lineups. And all the stacks that you need to get to
Diamond. That's
getting gold,
that's the goal.
Keep on winning on a roll. Kill for dragons, got soul. Now you got nowhere to go. Teleporting top to bot. Dive your carry on the spot. That's an ace. Wreck your base. Wear my crown.
We on top. Legend. All right, so just to have a little fun, I came in fourth place in the big GPP. It's $1,400. I'm not mad at $1,400. But when I say I'm proud today, it really doesn't have much to do with DFS or anything like that. Winning money is nice, but last night we had a tournament. We had a tournament match for Yale, and we went into the match and we were like not sure. Well, the team was not sure how it was going to do. I was very confident. I'm very confident in our team, and I think the players have all done a really good job. So I was more confident than they were, I guess. We lost the first game, and then we came back and we won the next two. So I wanted to share some of those clips instead of the normal like professional stuff that I do. But I'll do all the professional stuff to start. We'll go over what happened today and do a quick look ahead for tomorrow. The next round of the King of the Rift should be tomorrow, so it should be a fun day or a fun night of League of Legends. But I went 5 out of 6 on my picks. I posted those in Discord, and I mean Sunning should have won as well. Very good game. Like I said, I think that G2 was overrated going into the tournament. It doesn't mean I think they're a bad team. I just think they were overrated. Sunning was underrated, so I was on Sunning. If Sunning hit, I would have won a couple extra $100 from a bet that I had, because I did like one of those round robin kind of bets. So that went 5 out of 6. That was pretty okay. But let's just get into the game. So Machi against Team Liquid. A lot of people are killing Team Liquid for how they played in this game. I really don't know what they expected, because that is kind of that's like their play style that they revert to a lot of the time. So, like I said, I don't really get why everybody was so surprised about it. But yeah, so Team Liquid, they were overrated coming into this tournament. I understand that they won a bunch of games in play-ins, but I mean, come on, like, it's play-ins. Doesn't really matter in my opinion. So that's just the way I look at it. I just think they were overrated coming in, so I'm going to bet against them. It doesn't mean that you're stupid for playing Team Liquid if you did. Not at all. I think that they were probably the team with the higher upside in terms of kill totals. But when I looked at the champion pool for Machi, I also thought, like, they play Graves and Italy and these kinds of champions. Even if they get a lead, they're not necessarily going to have that high kill score upside. I mean, the game ended very abruptly, but whatever. The next game was G2 against Suning. If you didn't watch that game, I would suggest going to watch that game. It was very close. Basically, G2, in my opinion, G2 was able to win the game because Twisted Fate had a lucky, and they would all tell you it was lucky, as like even Caps would say it was lucky, a lucky Twisted Fate W that stole a dragon. And if you look at the dragon when it was being killed, it was like instant. It was the exact same instant as the smite, so you couldn't even tell which one went off first or anything like that. So kind of a freak occurrence. It does happen every once in a while, but if Suning's able to take that dragon, then they probably win the game because the next dragon fight would have been much more forced. Another thing I want to mention is that Perks did play well on Ezreal, but in one of the longer team fights, the analysts or the announcers or casters, whatever you want to call them, were like, "Oh my God, Perks did 10,000 damage in one team fight." It's like, he's an Ezreal. It was a prolonged team fight. His Q does percent health shred, and he had the opportunity to poke for like 2 minutes or like a minute straight. So I'm not trying to take anything away from Perks. I'm happy that Perks played well. I like G2. For a lot of the summer, people were telling me G2 is bad, and I continuously had them ranked as my favorite LEC team or best LEC team, had them high in the power rankings. I was the one saying that Rogue is not that good, saying that Mad Lions is not that good. So I don't want to be criticized for saying that G2 is overrated, when in reality they're overrated right now. But good for them. I think that Jankos on Graves, that's exactly what we're afraid of. Like, he cannot play. I'm sure he can play it in easier matchups, but when you're playing against a good team, you cannot play. Jankos is not good enough at Graves. Next game, Damwon against Rogue. That was an obvious one. Damwon destroyed Finn in the top lane, which was very cool to see. They had like a level 3 tower dive with Lulu and Graves, I think, which was pretty cool. JDG against PSG Talon. Again, this was a brilliant team composition by JDG, and I think it's probably going to go under appreciated because it was an easy game against a team that they're supposed to beat. But what PSG Talon's idea, which was a smart idea, good job by PSG Talon for pick banning this way. They went after Kanavi's champion pool, but only they went after the popular meta carry champions, and like, you can't ban out Kanavi, so you can ban out a play style, which is actually something that we did last night in our match as well. So let's go back to that game. So against Kanavi, they banned the Nidalee and the Kindred. Then PSG took away the Graves, and Kanavi went with Sylas. So in general, I don't think Sylas is I don't think it's an easy jungler to play around. But what it does is it creates a lot of skirmishes around the map. So you need to have the rest of your team composition to be able to also skirmish. So what JDG did, which was very intelligent, they picked multiple flex champions. They picked Set, who can go top, jungle, mid lane, support. And they had Ashe, that was locked in as the AD carry early. Then they picked, I think, Sylas in the 3 spot. So again, Sylas can go top jungler, mid. So now we have 2 flex picks and an AD carry. Then they continued the pick ban phase by banning out some champions they didn't want to play against in the bot lane. Or 2 supports they didn't want to play against in Leona and Thresh. And then 4th pick, they picked Pantheon. Pantheon is another flex pick. It can go top, jungle, mid, or support. Theoretically, it's best at support probably, according to most people. So then the other team locks in all their champions. They pick Jhin because they're silly. And then JDG finishes off with an Echo. And the reason why this is so smart is because they now have 4 champions who can actively go in and try to start fights in the early game, mid game, and late game. A lot of outplay potential, and you just increase the ceiling of your team. Like the ability to outplay them mechanically is much easier in that situation. So I think that was a very smart draft by them. And it should scare teams because if that's another play style that they can kind of default to, where it's not like getting a lead through a carry like a typical carry jungler or a farming carry jungler. So watch out for them. Genji against TSM. Obviously, Genji is going to win that one. TSM had some okay chances throughout the game, but they got outdrafted pretty hard, and then every single lane was losing pretty badly. LGD against Fnatic. Another spot. LGD is not as bad as they looked in play-ins. Everybody had a bad opinion of LGD going into it. LGD didn't play the game amazingly well. There were a lot of things that I didn't like about what they did. They had a few thousand gold disadvantage at one point in the game, but because they had the 2 dragons early on in the match, they forced a fight around the 3rd dragon or 4th dragon and turned the game. They gave away the dragon, won a team fight, took mid lane, and I think they also took top lane. So those are the kinds of things that show me LGD is still a good team, and there's nothing to be afraid of moving forward. So let's look at tomorrow's games real quick. G2 against Machi. G2 is a gigantic favorite. I understand that they are probably the better team. It should not be plus 300. So if I do another round robin, I'll probably just include Machi for one of them at a lower dollar amount. I think they're I definitely think they're a live dog. I don't love them as a DraftKings play. Like, I'm not going to overweight myself to the field. Machi's probably going to be 5% owned or something like that, or probably less. Team Liquid against Suning. I'm obviously on Suning. Graves is a contested pick, but I don't think they're going to give away Graves to Broxa, and Suning can play a lot of other champions. They don't need to worry about it. But Lee Sin's also a contested pick. So it'll be interesting to watch that game. I anticipate Suning just beating them pretty easily, but Team Liquid could really show something in this one if they manage to make it a close game. They might try to look for something like a Twitch in lane, and then I think Suning is going to pick Jhin, which is funny because it might actually be an okay spot to pick Jhin, but I still hate it. And we're going to take a look at Jin's win rate in a second as well. Damwon against PSG. Obviously, Damwon's the favorite. They're going to win that one. JDG against Rogue. JDG is going to win that one. I'm fairly confident. FlyQuest against Unicorns of Love. I'm surprised that FlyQuest is listed as the favorite. This game is something I'm going to do more research on while football is on, but I haven't done enough digging into this. My gut says that Unicorns of Love is accurately priced here, so I don't think there's an edge on betting on them as an underdog. But on DraftKings, for the big field stuff, I think there is a good chance to play Unicorns of Love and FlyQuest at lower ownership because a lot of these other teams are viewed as sure things. And then last up, we have Top Esports against DRX. This is a good time to bet on DRX. I don't think that they should be plus 180 against anybody. So that's another spot that I'm looking at for a bet. In terms of DraftKings exposure, I'll probably have both sides in like GPPs. King of the Rift is tomorrow. I'm not sure how I'm going to go, but I assume that I'll have some Damwon. The thing that I'm sure a lot of people will be afraid of with that match is that Damwon wins like they did today, where they just completely steamroll somebody and the game ends fast. All right. So then let's go to champion stats real quick before we get into the Yale clips. Bot. Where's that Jhin? All right. And there's a reason I want to go into this. I know that I talk about it a lot on Twitter. But right now, Jhin has a 33% win rate, right? And we need to understand who is picking Jhin and why they're picking Jhin. Because just because a professional team is picking Jhin doesn't mean it's a good thing. And in my opinion, when you're the favorite in a matchup, it means that you're going to win a majority of the games. Like, it doesn't even matter what the champions are, for the most part. When you're thinking to yourself, like, Damwon Gaming against JDG, I think this was a very risky spot to pick Jhin, but they steamrolled the game and it worked out okay. In general, I think Jhin is a bad pick against JDG. But when Damwon does it, it looks okay, and people see Damwon do it and they think, oh, Jin's a fine champion. It's a meta champion. It's not a meta champion. It's a good team playing a champion And they're able to get away with it in a lot of spots where other people can't because they're mechanical ceiling. And even if you told me that Jin was like a 50-50 or a 55-45 against Ashe, like, you're not picking champions in pick ban for that kind of reason, or at least you shouldn't be. And it puts a lot of constraints on the rest of your draft. So I think it's a really big mistake. I'm not sure if it's really not that easy to punish. Is there a night mode on this? What? Oh my god. My life has just changed. Night mode, dark mode, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think it's a mistake. But they were listed as the favorite going into the match. If a favorite picks Jin, I don't really feel that bad in general. And then Fnatic picked Jin against TSM. Against TSM, I think Fnatic is fine doing that because TSM's not going to completely outskill them. And get into a spot where, like, they're where TSM is just overpowering them in the draft or something, because they just typically don't do that. A lot of these teams go for like the 50-50s in the draft and then they just let the play decide it. But against LGD, I think it was a mistake to play it because the way that the draft went out, the way that the draft went, they had Graves and Jin, and they had Set. So now every single player on LGD is incentivized even more to build armor items, and you get the additional value. So it's just extremely good. It was extremely good for LGD that Fnatic drafted that way, and that's one of the reasons I hate Jin. But to be fair, Fnatic met the primary condition for that, which is you should be picking Graves with the Jin, because then you have a more consistent damage source on the team. They're both bursty, but it's just much better that way. So I don't hate the draft specifically against LGD, but if you're a team that is intending to go into a 30 to 40 minute game, then you should not be picking Jin at all. But then the rest of the teams who are playing Jin, FlyQuest, why are you playing Jin? You're gonna get demolished, because basically what you're telling the other team is we're gonna try to beat you we're gonna try to create like an insurmountable lead before the 20-minute mark. Because as the game goes on, Jin just gets worse and worse. Unified from PSG and Gadget from Unicorns of Love also picked Jin in underdog matchups. I think it's a bad underdog AD carry. I was just thinking about that today. Like, we see so much Jin, and a lot of the times it's a trap for these bad teams. So let's go into the first. This is the first game. So I'll just give you some background about what we were thinking. Let me turn on the light real quick. So what we were thinking is the other team, their jungler is a very strong jungler. He's a Grandmaster player. He plays a lot of Kha'Zix and Kayn, which are two AD assassin junglers. Then they also had Hecarim. So we thought to ourselves, Hecarim is a different style of champion. Maybe he's not that good at Hecarim, or there are other ways that we can kind of play into that matchup without having to ban that champion as well, because the support played a lot of Bard, and Bard is a champion that we don't like playing against. But what ended up happening is we had a lot of losing lanes, and there was a lot of pressure all over the map, which made it very difficult for us to play this game. But with that being said, I was very happy with how our team ended up playing around it. So let's get to some of the later game stuff. Probably should have prepared this a little bit more. Because this is the first time I'm looking at the game since yesterday. So at this point in the game, I'm pretty sure that the other team is on. The other team has 2 dragons already. They want to get another dragon. They were trying to pick us off in the mid lane, but the communication in our team's chat was that we wanted to trade dragon for a tower. So we're trading gold for stats, which is pretty good. I was glad that we made this decision. It was very smart. It was very smart in my opinion. So we ended up taking 2 towers top lane, which eliminates a lot of pressure in the top lane. Like I talk about sometimes, it's the positional way to look at League of Legends. Like, it's a separate mini game within League of Legends. and this turns into a team fight, I believe. So this is kind of what you expect from a Hecarim composition. They're going to use a lot of their ultimates to engage and try to get a favorable fight because of it. So our response in the draft was just to try to build a team composition that could take on as much pressure as possible and still win late game team fights. So like we expect them to engage onto us, and then it's up to us to turn the fight, which is a way to play. It's just a way to play League of Legends. You know, we're not reinventing the wheel. Let me just skip ahead because there are a few other spots. All right, so this is the last team fight of the game. So let me slow it down. And let me get the epic pen out. Ugh. All right. So we're going at half speed. Before the fight starts, I should probably give more context of what's going on. So right now, Shen is in the bot lane, and Kale's also in the bot lane. Shen has a global ultimate. He can get up there very easy. Kale needs to use her teleport to get into the fight. So Kale's teleporting over here. We have our AD carry down here. Our support's right here. And then we have our jungler right there. And I believe our mid laner's already in the back of the team composition as well. So I think it's kind of obvious. I don't know if it's going to seem obvious once I say it, but obviously we are very separated in this team fight. So right now Shen is using his ultimate to get into the fight, and it started off okay. Basically what we saw, which to speak to a larger point, like we want our players to be aggressive. We want our players to trust themselves and make a play when a play presents itself. But you need to execute it the right way. So if we look at the mini-map again, let me back it up even more. So one thing that the main coach, Brendan, says is that, you know, when you have a Caitlyn composition, you want to keep your tanks in front of Caitlyn, which it's not necessarily keep your tanks in front of Caitlyn, but keep your front line in front of Caitlyn, because sometimes your front line doesn't really consist of tanks. But we should all be over here. Like, Caitlyn's in the mid lane, because there's a separate thing that we talk about where you want mid lane priority. So you'll hear teams talking about catching a wave high, clearing out the wave to get mid priority, and then you have a better chance of getting into a team fight or contesting an objective because you don't also have the minion pressure coming in. So that's the first thing, is that right now it's a 4v4, and we have Caitlyn in the mid lane, which I don't think was communicated correctly within the team. But we were trying to be opportunistic. And the other thing is, we were losing this game by like 5,000 gold. So if you get into a spot in the game where it's very close like this, and you see an opportunity to win a team fight, I say go for it, because you were supposed to lose this game. When you get down 5,000 gold, you're not supposed to be able to come back. And it's a testament to how well our team played that we had that chance. So Hecarim right now has the Orianna ball on top of him and was looking for an engage. While this was going on, Sejuani was able to find an ultimate onto one of the players on their back line. So Sejuani ultimate is an AoE ultimate, and it CCs a bunch of champions on the other team. So now we continue to look for an engage. We know Shen is about to come in, so we need to be careful with how we're fighting this. And right now we have 3 of our players over here and 2 of our players over here. So we have split calls. And again, I understand the thought behind what our mid laner is trying to do, because he wants to go in. Well, okay, so our AD carry got caught a little out of position because they were in the mid lane as opposed to being with the rest of the team. But we'll see our mid laner goes in. So this is Camille. Camille is trying to shoot into the back line to assassinate the AD carry. And if he was able to accomplish that, we have a good chance of winning this fight. It's a high variance play, but we're in a spot, like I said, where we're supposed to probably lose this game. So I really don't mind that at all. But they had an exhaust for our Camille, so Camille wasn't able to really do anything there. And it really didn't fit our team composition as well, because Kale was trying to support the Camille instead of sticking with the back line. Probably should have stayed with the back line. But again, I was pretty okay with how this game turned out. And then we got into the next draft. So we lost that game, obviously. That was the last team fight. This game was pretty fun to pick ban and be a part of. So before our matches, Brendan and I will like have a call for like roughly an hour where we go through different scenarios of what we think might happen in the pick ban phase. And there are a lot of champions that we feel strongly about for our team, that if we have the chance to pick them, we want to pick them because they're our best champions. So the first priority in the pick ban phase was to limit the opposing jungler's champion pool. We knew that if we got rid of Kha'Zix, Kayn, and Hecarim, they were most likely going to play Echo. That's something from our scouting, and that ended up being accurate. The other team was banning Quinn because one of our players is like a very high-level Quinn player. They banned Camille because in Game 1 we played Camille pretty well, and we have a Masters-level Camille player on our team, and they banned Nidalee because our jungler is very good at Nidalee. So we first picked Aurelia because we think Aurelia is one of the better champions in the meta right now, and it's especially good for our team because we can flex it between multiple positions, and our mid laner is very good at Aurelia. So we're not afraid of a lot of these matchups, and we know that the opposing mid laner didn't have a lot of options to punish the pick. Then they took Ashe and Echo, which we expected both of those picks. They've played Ashe, I think, 4 out of 4 games in this tournament once they locked this in. Then they picked Echo, which we anticipated, and we're not afraid of Echo at all. We'd much rather have him on Echo than something else. Then they picked Akali. Then we picked Ezreal and Pyke. Our support player now is a Masters level Pyke player, extremely good at Pyke, and you'll see that in this game. And then they picked Akali, which is a power pick, but we're just not afraid of it. Our team is confident playing into it. Then we picked Lilia and Ornn. They picked Renekton and Nautilus. So let's get into the game, and I'll try to find... There were a few really good spots. 2-1. 3-1. 4-1. The support player for our team did a pretty great job. Everybody did a good job in this game, but the support specifically had a huge impact on how this game played out because he roamed very well. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So right now, and it's good to see this to understand like kind of how things impact the map in League of Legends. So right now we have 2 players top lane, 2 players mid lane, and now our Ezreal's in the bot lane by himself. And it's something that we do because we want the playmaking to happen elsewhere. Well, it's not that we want the playmaking to happen elsewhere, but if we can make a play somewhere on the map, we want to make the play. And sometimes that means our AD carry is left alone. But in these 3 games yesterday, he did a great job of taking on that pressure and just dealing with it. So they knew that we had 2 players top lane trying to kill Renekton, and we had a 2v2 in the mid lane. So that means that in the bot lane is 2v1 in their favor. So they went to make an aggressive play on our AD carry. Our AD carry gets ulted by Ashe, and immediately goes back to the tower to try to have the tower assist him in finishing up these kills. And he did a good job getting out damage, which got both of these champions very low. And Pyke's on cleanup duty, ults over the wall, gets 2 kills. That's like the easiest thing that you can do as Pyke. But in order to take advantage of that, you need to be in the right place, and you need to have good communication with your team. And that's exactly what we had this game. And then there should be more, I think. Yeah, so at this point he's feeling himself a little bit. He goes in looking for the Akali, and again, it's the right play to make because he knows that he has support with the rest of his team there. The communication on our side was amazing in this game. They were all very confident and talkative in a good way. Like we continuously fed good information to the other players on our team. So at this point, Pike is 4-0-2, and he just continuously helped everyone get into good fights and got kills and stuff. So again, just this is what happened again. And we don't, honestly, I feel fine showing this on a video because we don't expect teams to let us play Pike anymore because we've played it 3 times so far, and our support has gone absolutely nuclear in all 3 games. So again, having a mid laner that has dashes like Aurelia gives him a lot of playmaking ability, which we love. And it's a good combination with Lilia and the Pike because we're very fast, very mobile, and can do a lot. And this is where he really shines, is he just continuously hits hooks. It was pretty insane watching him in this game. If you want to watch this full game, go to Yale Esports on Twitch, and the recent broadcast is here. You can watch all 3 games at like double speed, and it was a really great match. The other team played very well, especially in the first and third games. The other team played very, very well. This game kind of devolved pretty quick, but it happens. Like I don't think that teams are bad just because they have one bad game. So at this point, the game just kind of turned into a solo queue match where everybody was trying to fend for themselves. And once it's 11-2 or whatever it is after this, the game is over. Of course he hits the hook. Why wouldn't he hit the hook? I mean, of course why would you even think that he might not hit the hook? Yeah, so this game is over. These are the kinds of games where it's really fun to just watch because the game is over and it's just your players have the freedom to do whatever they want. You don't want them to like be overly risky and take bad plays, but we also love it when they're trying to limit test themselves and play really high variance games. So there's Pike again doing Pike things. And this was actually pretty scary because this team fight should not have happened like this. We lost this, right? Yeah. Yeah, so this was the only time where it's like, we probably shouldn't have letting it got to that point in that fight. Like we should have taken the fight on better terms because we were winning. But the other team overstayed and we ended up getting a couple of kills, got the Baron, and ended the game. And like I said, super fun game. A lot of fun. Then in the third game, we went with the same strategy. So we went with 3 bans against the jungler. Oh, I gotta stand up. 3 bans against the jungler. They picked Ashe again. They picked Echo again. I'm surprised they didn't go to something else instead of the Echo, but it's kind of whatever. They picked Renekton. We picked Shen. And then we get Thresh. So Thresh is similar to Pike in the sense that they both have hooks, but Pike is obviously much more aggressive. And this game, we did a good job in the early game of getting our top laner into a good spot because our jungler went up and got a couple of kills early. Actually, no, that was... Yeah, this game... Yeah. So at certain points in this match, it really felt like we had a gigantic lead and there was no chance that we were going to lose. But we did get into some risky spots. I think this game, we were more nervous than anything because it's an important match. So maybe we were playing a little too tentative. So we'll just watch it from here. I'm getting the stomach grumbles. And not the hungry grumbles either. Yeah, so this is a good fight, I think, for us. The Orianna hit a shockwave. Later in the game, if that's a good shockwave, we lose the entire game probably. But they took the dragon. We hit every single hook as per usual. And we thought we were going to lose this. I think we do lose this fight, right? Nope, we do not lose this fight. And this is what I love about giving players champions that they're confident on, because they know how to play out a game from a tough position. And in this spot, we got a lot out of this in the mid lane. So this reminds me of the LGD match, where even though you gave away a dragon, you still get the upside of taking a tower afterwards, or chipping away damage on a tower, which is going to turn into gold. Because the pressure eventually turned into a tower. And then... oh yeah, I forgot. So we had a big gold lead at this point. It was probably 5,000. But we threw away a couple of these fights. And this we were kind of frustrated in the call, we were frustrated watching the game, because we thought that there was no reason to really let them get to the third dragon without taking a dragon ourselves. But again, our players did a really good job in this team fight. So we stopped them momentarily from getting the dragon. It's funny because we could have just let the other player die right there. The support was going to die if we just didn't do anything. But we end up giving away a kill. And then they get Ocean Soul. So the other team getting Ocean Soul is very bad for us. But we're still very strong. We are ahead in gold. And... they overextended trying to get a pick, so it was a 1-for-1. Then our mid laner does a good job getting a pick in the back line. And again, this is what happens when you give players champions that they're very good at. Our support Lance with another great hook, just continuously hitting hooks all game. It was crazy. So that good team fight turned into a Baron, and then the Baron turned into a top inhibitor. The call in the comms was to go after Elder Dragon, which was difficult for them to contest, obviously. And at this point in the game, we probably should have been able to end the game right here. But we didn't. We were a little afraid because of how a team fight started right here. So the Echo had a good ultimate. The Echo had a good W. The Camille dove into the back line and died. So then we had to reset. And this is kind of where the game gets a little scary again. So we got another kill. We had to reset onto Elder Dragon. Oh, and the game ends here. Yeah, so there was actually a different spot that I wanted to show, and it's an important instructive point, I think. Which dragon was it on? It was further back. I think it was it was when they got third dragon. My dog is going ballistic outside. So this is the spot right here. So right now our communication is saying we want the third dragon. We cannot let them get the soul point because that puts additional pressure on us for the fourth fight. But our mid laner, he's a playmaker. He looks for very aggressive plays. We don't want to discourage that kind of play at all. But there are times to look for it and times to not look for it. Right now is a time where it's really risky to make this play. So right now he goes in on the bot lane. He tries to go 1-for-1 with the AD carry and fails. And this gave up a dragon. So this is what puts us on. This is what puts them on soul point. Oh, and that's because I was asking in our comms, like, why did we not use Rift Herald mid lane, and it was because of that. So right there, when he goes in, he should have ignited right away. I think he was trying to ignite, but it was like kind of at the same exact time. But that's basically it for this game. I just wanted to get some extra footage out there for the Yale team. Really proud of how they played last night. I think they all did very well. Everybody contributed in different ways. And I wanted to share it with you all. So watch out on Twitter whenever we have a match. We have a match on Tuesday if you want to watch that. It should be about 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending on how we schedule it. But that's all I've got for you today. Good luck on DraftKings. Good luck if you're playing NFL DFS. And I will talk to you tomorrow.